There was a time in my life when I was living in my car. I had every reason to complain. I had no money, no home, no certainty about tomorrow. But I made a decision, one that changed everything. Instead of focusing on what I lacked, I started thanking God for what I still had. Some days, all I had was breath in my lungs and a brand new chance to try again. And that was enough to be grateful for. Because gratitude isn't about ignoring your problems, it's about shifting your focus. When you stop obsessing over what's missing and start appreciating what's already there, your whole life begins to shift. You attract more peace, more clarity, more opportunities. That's how blessings work. Think about it. If you gave someone a gift and they only complained about what it wasn't, would you be in a rush to give them more? Probably not. But if they were genuinely grateful, if they valued and appreciated what you gave them, you'd be excited to bless them again. That's how God operates. He responds to gratitude. When you show appreciation for what He's already given you, He opens the door for more. Gratitude isn't just a mindset, it's a magnet for miracles, blessings, breakthroughs. So let me ask you, have you thanked God today? Or have you been so caught up in what you don't have that you've forgotten to acknowledge what you do? The moment you start seeing life through the lens of gratitude, everything changes. Because when you finally understand that your life is already secure in God's hands, your anxiety starts to fade. Nothing that happens to you is a surprise to God. Every setback, every heartbreak, every disappointment, He already knew. While you're stressing over how it's all going to work out, He's already made a way. The problem is, too many people trust their plans more than they trust God's. But let me tell you something, your plans might fail, but His never do. And if you could even catch a glimpse of what He has in store for you, you'd stop worrying and start worshiping. I've been through seasons of confusion, seasons where nothing made sense, times when I felt lost, hopeless, unsure of what was next. But looking back, I realized God was guiding me the whole time. The moments that felt like rock bottom were actually the foundation for my breakthrough. It's like being on a plane. You might hit turbulence, but that doesn't mean you're not going to reach your destination. You just have to trust the pilot. And in life, God is the pilot. You've got to stop panicking and let Him fly the plane. Faith isn't just believing God exists, it's trusting that He's in control. Even when nothing makes sense. If you keep trying to do everything on your own, you're going to burn out. But the moment you say, God, I trust you, something shifts. Worry starts fading, peace starts growing, and suddenly, you realize, you were never alone. You've always been in His hands. So why fight battles that were never yours to fight? Why stress over a future that God has already secured? If He's brought you this far, He's not about to leave you now. But sometimes we're so busy trying to control everything that we don't even realize we're resisting Him. We try to force things, manipulate outcomes, hold on to what's familiar, when all God wants is for us to trust Him. Maybe that door didn't open because He's leading you somewhere better. Maybe that relationship ended because He's protecting your purpose. Maybe that opportunity fell through because there's something greater waiting on the other side. I've been there. I held on to things that were draining me. I chased dreams that weren't even mine to chase. And every time, I found myself exhausted, frustrated, confused. But the moment I surrendered, really surrendered, and said, God, whatever you have for me is better than what I'm chasing, everything began to change. When you stop resisting, He starts revealing. When you stop fighting the current, He carries you to where you're meant to be. Some of the best things in my life didn't happen because I forced them. They happened because I let go. I stopped praying, God, give me what I want, and started praying, God, give me what you know is best. That's when the right doors opened. So I ask you, what are you holding on to that God is asking you to release? What situation, plan, or relationship are you still trying to control when you should be trusting Him instead? Because true peace doesn't come from knowing what's next. It comes from knowing who's in control. And that's what real faith is. It's not trusting when everything makes sense. It's trusting when nothing does. It's easy to believe when everything's falling into place. But what about when you're waiting? When you're praying and nothing is changing? When you're doing your best, but life keeps hitting you with setbacks? That's when faith is tested. And that's where your greatest growth happens. I know this because I've lived it. When I was sleeping in my car, I couldn't see the way out. I didn't understand why I was going through so much pain. But now I see, it was preparation. That struggle built my resilience. It refined my character. It deepened my relationship with God. If I had given up, I wouldn't be standing here today. And if you give up now, you'll never see what God was preparing you for. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to take the next step. Even when it's scary, even when it's uncomfortable. The biggest breakthroughs in life don't come from playing it safe. They come from stepping out in faith. From choosing to believe, even when there's no evidence yet. Because if God put a dream in your heart, He will make a way. But you can't do it without staying connected to Him. Prayer isn't just a religious ritual, it's a lifeline. If Jesus, who had all the power in the world, still took time to pray, how much more do we need to? Prayer is where you get your strength, your peace, your guidance. Too many people treat prayer like a last resort when it should be the first response. There were days when I had nothing but a dream and a prayer, no money, no opportunity, no clue how I was going to make it. But I kept praying, and every single time, God showed up, maybe not in the way I expected, maybe not in my timing, but always on time. Prayer doesn't just change things, it changes you. It aligns your heart with God's will. It strengthens your faith and gives you the courage to keep going. So let me ask you, when was the last time you really prayed? I mean truly poured out your heart? Because when you do, something shifts inside you. You stop living small. You stop playing it safe. You start realizing God created you for something greater. You weren't meant for average. You were made to impact the world. Too many people settle, not because they lack talent, but because they don't believe they were made for more. But if God put a dream in your heart, it's not a coincidence, it's a calling. And it's time to stop doubting and start moving. Dreams don't come to life by themselves. They require work, persistence, boldness. When I started out, I wasn't the funniest, I wasn't the smartest, but I refused to quit. I refused to let fear or failure define me. And that's the mindset you need. You have to believe you were made for greatness, and then pursue it like your life depends on it. What's the dream inside you that you've been too afraid to chase? What vision have you been holding back on because you didn't feel ready? It's time to move, to stop playing small, to trust that if you keep climbing, one day you'll see the view from the top. The pain, the struggle, the late nights and tears, they're not the end of your story. They're just part of the journey. And God isn't finished writing your story yet. You haven't even scratched the surface of what's possible. So stop carrying burdens that aren't yours. Stop trying to control what only God can handle. When you finally say, God, I give it all to you, that's not weakness, that's real strength. That's when things start to shift. That's when peace enters. That's when favor flows. This is your moment. Don't wait for the perfect time, it doesn't exist. Don't wait until you feel ready. You'll never fully feel ready. The change starts now, right now, the moment you decide to trust Him completely. Everything begins to move. So what are you going to do with this message? Because knowledge without action changes nothing. You've been given the blueprint. You've been reminded of who you are. Now it's time to live like it. Don't carry the same worries into tomorrow. Don't go back to living small. Trust, believe, move. Your breakthrough doesn't start someday. It starts the moment you decide to live differently. And if this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone else who needs hope, who needs a reminder, who needs to know that their story isn't over. And if you're ready for more life-changing wisdom, Go watch the next message, because your future is waiting. The question is, are you ready to step into it?